Hello everyone and welcome to my coloring corner. Today is Try It Tuesday, and last week we took apart Chompy Fluff Monsters, a dinosaur coloring book by Morgan O'Brien. We sliced off the binding and we are going to bind this today on the spiral binder. So we've got our book here. I'm going to switch over to the other camera. And we've got our binder. Now this binder is a wire binder and it is a chunky monkey, as you can probably tell. This is a Tenasi wire binder. It binds all the way up to an A4 size, and we're going to start punching some holes. So I have adjusted the guide here so that the holes will be even on Chompy Fluff Monster. Now this will only take approximately 12 pages at a time. So I'm just going to start off with a fairly small amount of pages. Make sure that you have it the right way round because yeah, if you don't do that, that might be a problem. So because that's the front, we want it at the top. So these are quite easy as long as the Chompy Fluff Monster goes into the machine. That will be the right. And then you pull it down, and you let it back up, and that punches the holes in the page. So we're going to put that over onto the side here. And then we're going to take the next lot. Try not to take too many pages at once. I do find if you do too many pages at once, it doesn't punch all the way through, and you end up with a messy punch. So again, make sure that it's completely even on the edge that is going to be outside the book or outside the binding. And then again, put it up against the guide. Pull down the handle. Let the handle back up, and we've got our bind. And then we'll put it over here. This part's the fun part. The not so fun part is trying to get it all onto the wire, because sometimes the wire decides it does not want to join in and be doesn't like to cooperate sometimes. Okay, and then again, bring it down. Now this one was a little bit too thick. I can feel the resistance, but it did punch through. But as you can see, the punches are not in the barrel where they belong, but they did punch through, so that's all that matters. Try not to get too many. Told you this was going to be a boring video, but you guys said you wanted to see it, so this is what we're doing. Again, punch it. Just going to make sure that it's even on the edge, because the pages are a little bit warpy, because this is the book that got some damage on it when it was shipped. And then you bring it down, push it down. All the holes are done for you. You put it over to the side. Because I have this guide here and I put it in the exact same place on the guide, all of the holes should line up exactly to each other. So if you don't put the guide there and you go higgly-piggly all over the place on the base, you're going to find that your holes don't line up. So make sure that you get everything nice and even, and that you put your page right up against the bind, all the way up against the back of the machine, and bring it down. Like so. Now I have set the machine so that it binds a little, the holes are punched a little bit further in. You can make it punch a lot further in, or you can make it punch for a little bit further out. With ones that don't have room or have the pictures all the way to the edge of the page, I tend to put the bind number further out. So I'm just going to make sure that those are all even, like so. These ones as well. It's not even on the end. Sometimes if you find that as long as you keep the edge, the factory edge even, if you have miscut something or not cut enough off or something, you'll still have the proper bind. I think I'm going to need to sharpen my machine, I think. All right. Now, this one here, we're going to do this side up because we've got the back cover on this one. Now, as long as you remember to flip it over so that the back cover goes on like that, you have everything all punched. Everything has a hole in it, and you should be able to line it all up so that you can see the holes all the way through. All right, so now the next part. Now this is the part that gets a little trickier. So we're going to take our binder, and this is a small enough book that 3/8 should be a large enough bind. I do have a 5/8 as well, just in case it's not. And we'll know that as soon as we start putting the pages on, if the pages slide off. Okay, so I'm going to move you back, which is going to move the camera. And I'm going to tip you forward on the camera so you can see the edge of the counter here outside the machine. So this part of the machine here is where you put your binder. So you put your wire down on these little teeth down here so that your wire teeth are sticking out. Then you take your, I'm going to start with this part here. Oh. I missed a page. So we're going to start here and we're going to work our way down to the end, like so. Don't do too many pages at once. If you do too many pages at once, you're going to knock the wire off of the machine. Try to make sure that you have a good amount of room on your table. That's why I'm doing this on the counter, for the book to sit, so that as you add the pages, you can adjust the bind. Now this is where it starts getting tricky, because the bind is starting to get full. So now you have to turn it just slightly, like so, so that the pages go down. And now you have to try to slip the pages into that bind right here, like so. So you can't do too many pages at once at this point. So as you can see there, that one there didn't punch all the way through. Well, it punched all the way through, but it didn't cut the paper all the way off. So I've got too many pages there. Let's try to get it to work. And the more you turn it, the less room you have to fit those pages between the tooth that's holding the binder and the binder wire. And this is going a lot smoother than it normally does, believe me. Because normally it's kicking me off by now. And then, of course, the last page, which is the back cover here. All right, so now we have the whole book on. Okay, what's going on there? So one of the pages did not go all the way on, or it's crinkled somewhere. Yeah, it missed one hole. So we're going to take this off. And we're going to put this back on. Now you can do this without being on the hooks. However, it is a little more difficult. It slides around a lot. And if you miss a hole, you can end up pulling your entire book apart. So I'm going to put it back on the teeth, just so I don't pull the book apart like that. And then we're going to put this one in there like that. And then the last page like so. So you have to check, always check your bind, make sure that everything lines up, make sure that it's all ready to go before you put it in the press. Because once you put it in the press, the only way to get this off is to either tear the pages or cut the bind. So now there's this part of the machine here. This wire here holds the book up, as this part of the machine here presses this wire down and closed. It has a little grabby plate on it, which will grab hold of that binder and hold it in place as it's being closed. Make sure that your bind is centered and turned the right way, otherwise it's not going to bind it closed properly. Like so. Then you take your handle and you give it a press, like so, and it binds it closed. Now I want it a little bit more closed than that because that's going to pop some of those pages out. So you just put it back in there, line it up, and close it up a little bit more. So as you can see, it's closed up quite a bit more there. Now I'm not going to end up with pages that fall out when I open it. I'm going to switch it back over to the other camera here, and I'll show you how to get rid of that little tail that is on that bound book. Because the book is smaller than the binding wires, you need to get rid of the little tail that the binder wire leaves after the edge of the book. So I've got a set of wire clippers. I just went and grabbed them out of my husband's office. And you can probably do this with a pair of scissors. I prefer to do it with the wire clippers, just because. So what you do is you take the part that comes out into this bind here and you clip it First you have to make sure that you're, there it is. I wasn't even on it. Alright, and then you clip it like so. Now I'm going to put this back the way it goes, and as you can see, we've got a little wire sticking out there that could be dangerous. So we're going to turn that. Well, we're going to trim that off, and that's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to turn it like so, just so that it doesn't poke anybody when they're opening the book. So now we have a bound book. Now, what I was afraid of is what happened. It is a little bit small for this book, so I will be rectifying that. So when you have bound a book and it's too small, there's a couple of different things you can do. You can open the binding like so. Or you can clip off the binding and put it on a larger. Now, you do want your binds to be closed. So if your binder is not completely closed and the book is a little bit larger, you will find that your book is falling apart because it's slipping out of the teeth. So I'm just going to pop these off, and later on I'll rebind it. Well, we can do that, I guess. We've only been going for 17 minutes. So I'm going to take it off, and then we're going to rebind it with a larger bind. Now the larger holder should take less time to do because it's a larger it has larger holes, like larger tines. Alright, so we can put more pages on at a time. Alright, so I'm just going to slowly open this. It's sometimes easier to do with your fingers than it is to do with a tool. See, I told you this was going to be a boring video. And I have 2 more of the Chompy Fluff monsters, and I was thinking of binding them all together, making a full book of the Chompy Fluff monsters 1, 2, and 3. However, seeing that this does not fit in one of the smaller binds as a single book, I don't think 3 books is going to fit in the larger bind. I know this one's going to be a little loose in the larger bind because of the fact that it is much larger. And this only needs a little bit larger. But I don't think I'll be able to fit all 3 of them in that larger bind. Okay, so now you turn it and pop those teeth out of the book, like so. And then we have an unbound book. And it hasn't damaged the book. It hasn't damaged the binding holes or anything like that. You can still see all the binding holes. And I'm going to switch you back over to the other camera here where the binding machine is. And we're going to do the same thing, but we're going to use a larger tine. Now, because we're going to be using a larger tine, I need to move this to a larger tine. And what that does is it drops the grippy bar down a little bit. So when it closes, it gives me a larger press down. So we are going to use 5/8 instead of 3/8. And we'll use white. The 5/8 I have in different colors. So I just really don't like the way that they put these in the box. So these are the binds. And unfortunately, you gotta unhook them. And you get them in a box. This is a box of 50, I think. And this machine came with the box of 100 5/8. So again, you put it on your edge here. Make sure everybody gets all the teeth get a bind clip. And then we start over. So we start at the front. And again, like I said, this is going to be a little bit easier because it's a longer bind. However, these binders don't like staying on the teeth very much. So I'm going to have to redo that. See, as soon as they move up, they tend to fall off. So keep it laid back as possible. Once you get the first couple of pages on it, it's a lot easier. So I'm going to do the first page by hand. So you can do this by hand as well. So what you do is you line up your holes. You take your bind. You go in the first hole. Try to make sure that you grab all the pages, and then you turn it in like so. And what this is going to do is this is going to weigh it down so it doesn't pop off of the teeth here. Hopefully. That's what it's supposed to do. Whether it does that or not is up to the machine. And you could do it by hand with every one. My hand got in the way there. Just to make sure that they all get put on there. But I find that I end up messing things up, so I like to use the machine's holder just to keep things secure. I've got a tooth thing there that hasn't gone all the way through. There we go. Make sure. Just making sure I have it the right way. So as you can see, I can put a lot more on at once with this larger bind clip. Again, center it into the center of the bind. Yes, we have a little bit of extra there. We've got a couple of pages that are bent there, and that's because the other bind was not big enough for it. So same thing, we're going to put this in there like so. And we're going to bring the down, and there it is, bound. Now it's slipped here on this edge, so I'm going to put this edge in. And I'm going to bring it down, but I'm just not going to push it all the way. I'm just going to push it a little bit so that this part here clips closed. I slipped it off. I don't want this side to close any further. So as you can see here, I've got one part here that is closed tighter than this side here, and that's because my hand slipped while I was putting the machine down. Now, trying to repair that without closing this clip any further. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this down. I'm going to put there. So now it's almost even all the way around. But it gives you a good amount of room to move around on the book. So we're going to go back over to, I still need to do that side a little bit more. There, that's about even. So I'm going to go back over to the other camera here, and we're going to clip off the edge, and we'll take a look at the bind itself. So we've got our book here. I'm going to switch over to the other camera, and we're going to clip off this edge. So we're going to take this and we're going to clip right here, and we're going to take that off. Now, the Chompy Fluff Monsters is a book that opens this way. All the pictures are lengthwise. So one of the things that you will find is sometimes it's opening just fine. I'm not getting any bent pages. I'm not getting any pages falling out, which is what we want to see all the way to the end. So I have all the pages in here. None of them fell out. I do have the little tip there. Now I need to bend this little tip here. Just so it's not sticking out at me and hurting me. Just have to be really careful when you do it so you don't hurt yourself. There, that's what I wanted to do. And I scratched myself, but that's okay. All right, so there we have it, fully bound book. This side is a little wonky, but that's okay. It still works. That's all I'm saying, is it still works. Yeah, I knocked it with my hand, which knocked it off of the binding machine as I was pushing down on the binder. So that's why it's wonky. It takes some practice, but binding your own books can be a game changer in how you use your books. It can also be a game changer in cost as well. Because if you take a book to a professional and have it cut and bound, it can cost you above $5 a book. I don't know what the cost is now. I haven't taken a book to be bound in a very long time, and they did it horribly, so I didn't like it. They ruined the book. I was really quite upset with them. And you know, that's one of the things you have to think about as well, is these are things that we collect and we enjoy. People in stores and that sort of thing that don't enjoy coloring books may find it very wasteful or useless to bind a coloring book, so they do it very quickly and not very nicely. So they do it as quickly as possible, without care, is what I have found with taking books to a professional. All right, guys, so with that, we have a bound Chompy Fluff Monsters. Again, the machine I have is a Tianse, Tianse. It was purchased by my hubby. I do not know where he got it from. I assume Amazon. It came in the box that it was meant to, like, that it was sold in. So I don't know where he got it from. The binding wires, the thicker binding wires, did come from Amazon. All right, guys, with that, I'd like to say thank you all very much for watching. I hope that you have enjoyed watching the Chompy Fluff Monsters be bound. And I hope to, of course, see you again tomorrow for our Wednesday Work It Wednesday Live. We will be choosing it. Well, we already chose the picture, but we'll be starting a new picture and hopefully finishing that during Work It Wednesday Live. All right, guys, with that, always remember to like, comment, and subscribe to any YouTube artist that you enjoy. And always, always remember to relax, color, and stay safe, everyone. Until next time, bye-bye for now.